Okay, I'm Bobbie Moline-Kramer. These are all of my works here, and it's a pretty heavy-duty range from very representational work to this is the latest piece, and this is where I'm going. I'm going to just let everyone else talk. The only thing I will say is that everything in here that is graphite has been put in there by me. Okay, go.
Okay, I'm going.
Go.
Oh my God, I want to swim and dive into this painting. It's so watery. There's a quality that is so refreshing to me, and the waters that I see here, speaking of alchemy, are so ancient. The ancient waters and moss, and I can't help myself and be reminded of landscapes in China or somewhere in Asia. And these little white specks of pure light highlighting these areas in the painting that keep drawing me deeper and deeper into the watery quality of this painting. It's the most refreshing thing I've seen all day.
So I'll talk next. Well, I've known Bobbie's work for many years, so I cannot be objective. And I know that I always have to look, and there's always a surprise. And I think Bobbie's absolutely masterful with always having like little surprises. Then you don't know what you're seeing in this particular piece. You don't know what you're seeing, but you know that you want to dig further and look more. And this feels very much like a landscape and very like a magical place. It has a very peaceful feeling. It's kind of like you have arrived to the place. And obviously I like the way that the eye is leading you to like this. And it's a spiritual piece, definitely. So.
Okay, so speaking of going with the flow, I'm saying that tongue in cheek because we're talking about Bobbie. So there's this aspect of like total release, like there's this process that you've been developing for years now, which is it's just layers and layers upon. You've obliterated so many beautiful life drawings under this thing. I know. and so there's this total letting go into the process, and yet when we come up close, there's trompe l'oeil water. It's like, so on one hand there's this complete letting go, and then there's a coming in and going, I'm going to. There's always this play. There's always a little bit of,
Showing tease.
Yeah. So, and what's amazing is, of course, that. So you were saying the graphite is all yours. I mean, these are drip graphite marks. This looks like the paint did it, but Bobbie came in and drew meticulous drips, and I think. It's interesting. It speaks on a lot of levels, but the fact that it's so meticulous, like, it just shifts the ideas around the role of the artist in a way, and the process. And I'll turn it over.
I'm very into the idea of general to particular. So, science says micro, macro, and, there are many different ways to put it. But beyond just the general aesthetic beauty of the piece, just when you're standing back from it, that's what drew me in. And I was here the other day and I was taking close-ups because I'm really interested in the intricacies of things. What were they doing? The how of it is kind of a fun part. And what I noticed about this one in particular, and why I kept coming back to it, along with another piece with the thread in it, which I really like, the reason I kept coming back is because I felt the meditative quality of the intricacy of what you were doing with the detail work with the graphite. I think you probably, I'm just assuming, maybe you were lost. You were in a trance, maybe, when you were doing that stuff. And in the way that Sigrid's has the quality of almost the unconscious, meditative, like completely here now immersed, the immersion of it, I feel that you must have felt some of that doing this piece, because that's what I felt when I was discovering it. Like, I felt 10 minutes went by. And I went, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So that's just my observation on it.
Okay. Yeah, this for me is a huge jump off point, because up until now I've just felt duty bound to make a picture. And it doesn't do me in good stead the fact that I can do pictures, because it's a little too easy. So this is, I wanted to do something that was absolutely as abstract as I could get, and yet screw with people virtually, because once you discover the bubbles, you're like, wait a minute, maybe this actually is not an abstract.
I love the play. It's great.
All right.
Yeah, the push and pull is awesome. It's scary.
The monkey.
Okay, thank you guys for being here and up here, making the trek all the way up. So my name's Elana Kundell, and these are my paintings along this wall. And I'm gonna go on this grill first. So basically what we're gonna do is we're just going to pretend like you're not here and have a critique group meeting somehow. And so interestingly, this painting, the large one in the middle, was the last one that I did before the show went up. And only one of the artists has seen or was able to see it before it went up. So it's a perfect, I guess, example. And we'll start from there, and I'm going to just quiet down and see what these guys have to say about what they see.
It's all going to be good.
Oftentimes with Elana's work, I, because I've done so much realism, always seem to think these are landscapes. And this is not an exception. And normally what I do is I take her work and I turn it the other way so that it then fulfills what I think is a landscape. I think this works beautifully. I love the warm colors up against the cool. Why here? Why'd you decide?
So, okay. It has to do with a feeling that I was capturing. So this piece happened after I visited San Francisco, where I used to live. And so I got the experience of longing for this, longing for the place, but also there's been so much construction and change, and I no longer belong, even though I long for the place. So the piece overall has to do with blocking and being blocked out, and also having a way through and being enticed. And so the warmth has to do with that. It has to do with this buzzing, like hot, the intensity of that color, and the like for me, this is more of the man's imprint, or like all of the building and everything that's happening. Like this was kind of a symbol for me of that, and that blocking out. It's right at the top of the piece. So so they're different reasons for the two of them. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, Nurit?
It does feel more urban for me. Elana a lot of times does landscape, and it feels more like a landscape, more kind of Camarillo landscape, or different California, but different. This does feel more urban. This part is absolutely my favorite, and it is kind of this feeling of destruction in it, and open, sort of like abandoned building, which is a little different for Elana, but I think it's very special. There is a feeling of longing into it. I'm Elana's roommate, and I knew it was about an urban scene, but I didn't know it was about San Francisco and about not feeling belonging anymore. One of my favorite parts in this painting is this part, because formally there's such a heavy paint, and this is so floating and so almost, this feels almost like feathers, so it's almost like something that flying away and disappearing, and it does give the feeling of something that is not permanent, but sort of within moving, and you don't know, sort of maybe uncertain future. But yeah, I think this piece parts really anchors the painting, and this sort of takes you to the future. So it's an emotional piece, definitely.
Ryan?
Well, I posted an image of close-ups, and Elana had mentioned, I don't know, you'll have to figure out why you chose that one. And what I like about Elana's paintings is the empty space. I think there's an incredible interplay between activity and non-activity in the painting. And I try to keep this stuff very simple when I'm working, so that there's a lot of freedom to maneuver. So I try not to trap it too much in language. But one thing I'll say is that there's incredible lyricism here and movement, and also just to pick up on what Nurit was saying about this feeling feathery, it is like the mark making is very contrasting. It is a very contrasting element to some of these much more like viscous and passive pieces of paint. And this is transparent, the way the application, and what it does is it gives weight to the piece because this is all empty space. Mm-hmm. And there's activity there, but it's still light and fluid and open.
Yeah.
So what happens is it divides. It divides. This is all divided, and that's divided. And the two kind of yin-yang that's how I see it, balance.
Sigrid?
I'd like to follow up on what Ryan was saying, the paradox in this painting, something that is almost concretely forming and then this nebulous side. And I'm really intrigued by these lines that remind me a little bit of puppetry, on the string, and this air-like quality that we find here. And I'm just, the longer I look at it, the more I see in it, and the depth and the richness of the colors here, and then the lightness of being in here. There's such a dichotomy in this painting, and which really speaks to me. Thank you.
Does any of it not work?
I mean, I feel like in every piece here, there's a tenuous part of it that's like either controversial or objectionable in me, and part of the part of it is sitting with the uncomfortableness that is life, I mean, and also acknowledging that these are really transitional. I mean, across the board, the pieces are pretty different, some of them from one another, and they all exist. I mean, that whole experience exists, and it doesn't mean because something doesn't work that I have to immediately change it and make it better. So yeah, there are controversial things, having to do with the breakup of the space, just as Ryan was pointing out. But that's also part of the piece. It's like how much of this is one of the pieces where I started with the writing. So the lines are actually the writing hindsight. It's not meant to be read per se. So it's a question of how much of that am I going to reveal. And also, I had an initial idea that this was going to be much more frenetic, and it turned into something else halfway through, right? Paintings, that happens. You think you're doing something, and then halfway through it goes, sorry, we're doing something else.
All right.
So,
My name is Nurit Avesar. I used to be figurative and conceptual. I'm still, I guess, sometimes conceptual, especially in this piece. This is my favorite piece out of this show, and I will let you talk about it.
All right. I just want to say, to start with, the process that she does is so unbelievable. I just want you to talk for a couple of seconds about the process of this thing.
Well, I start with painting on paper, loose paper on a panel, then I paste it to a canvas, then I sand it, and tear it and paint over it. This particular one, I printed monoprints over window screens in different colors and laid many layers of it to create this effect of well, you would tell me what the effect for you is. And then I paint on it, and sometimes I use cheesecloth. Sometimes I put another white paper on it and send it back. It's more the work on that room. And it's a multi-layering, sanding, tearing, collaging, painting.
Okay.
That's that's it.
Okay, to me, this painting characterizes life and how we build things up and then sand them down using our intellect and rationality and logic and, and constantly create and destroy. Create and destroy. And this painting is, to me, the perfect visual metaphor to life. I love the celebrations over here, and then I love the quiet times over there, and things that are in the process of growing over there. It's just magnificent. That's all I have to say. Love it.
So I don't see quite as much celebration over here, and and I got to experience this painting over quite a bit of time as your roommate, and so I got to see it change a hair from day to day over time, plenty of time. But I feel the ominousness of the color juxtapositions here, and I feel the almost dirtied quality of the some of the greens and the pinks. Like I feel discordant quality, and I call this your punk rock piece because of the like this torn out, like there's some jaggedness. So even though some of the color is pleasant, this feels like it was torn away from this section. This feels like there was some violence perpetrated on it, which I know is true.
Yeah, it is true.
Physically, this was definitely.
No, but it's also about, it is about a violence.
Yeah, it reminds me, you're from Israel,
Right.
and it reminds me of war.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
about war.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
It's about war and just normal life and green grass and flowers.
And then there's war.
Exactly, yeah. You have violent and you have the normal life and we just keep on going.
Which relates to what Sigrid was saying about destruction and rebuilding
Yeah.
and destruction and
Mhm.
rebuilding, because that's all we do. I mean, we're constantly replacing one belief with another one.
Yeah.
We're addicted to problems. We love problems. So, the second...
I like the way he included all of us.
Well, that's pretty much everyone here. We just replace new beliefs with old ones. Old ones with new ones. That's all we do. Yeah. And so I think that this painting has an element of very much that quality to it. The idea of, I feel like you've constructed a reality and you've obliterated it. That also relates to the painting upstairs of mine, probably, where I got to the dark periods.
Right.
Yeah. Where you kind of lose your will a little bit to do much.
Yeah, but yours doesn't make me anxious, this does.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because...
Well, maybe because there's a little bit of light entering in.
Yeah.
But this is very...
Raw.
It's unsettling. It's unsettling.
It's
That's
unsettling.
settling. That
Yeah.
is really what I felt like. Although everything is almost normal, it is unsettling.
And I like how you haven't replaced it with something different. You just let it be unsettling.
Right, no, that was the main
No solution.
And it's really in pieces. Like if you come up, it's just piece. It's really, some of them really stick together and they kind of have areas that hold together. But this one, when you come up, it's just like it's all in pieces in a way.
Yeah.
So anyone else want to just help it? We'll just put another piece there.
This does happen sometimes. We come in and go,
Make it whole.
No, it needs to have the empty space.
Oh, I know.
To
Yeah,
breathe.
it's very important for it.
If you didn't, it's sort of like a wounded animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this kind of
If you do much more to it, it's gonna...
complexity and so much happening in certain spots, and then there's just like nothing.
Right.
And that's part of the tension of this. That's
Exactly.
really...
It's on purpose, definitely.
Yeah, I know it
I
is,
love
but
it.
it still is anxiety producing. It's
Right.
like, okay.
I also want to mention that I like this piece because regardless, I do have a special technique that people recognize me by, but even in black and white or any other material, this piece still would say the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's beyond the technique, beyond the, I don't know, the little trick or whatever, that's,
The design.
Right, it still will have, will be just as strong,
Cool.
so.
We're gonna So I'm Sigrid Orlet, and these are my paintings. This is my room. I chose this one because it characterizes my work. I work in uncertainty and not knowing, and this to me is the perfect depiction of that because it's so unformed, and anything can happen after this stage. So I'm open to your critiques.
Can I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
First of all, I love this piece. You'll notice it was the detail that I put. First of all, just this room alone, when I came into the exhibit, I walked in and I kind of went like this. I mean, it was just like, you hit it. I don't know, you hit it. So what I wanted to say about this particular piece is that it feels, I mentioned, it feels layered kind of like the earth.
Right.
Like itself, just very layered. It feels ancient. It feels primitive, and I'm thinking of the primitive because my passion right now is I'm really trying to understand the history of art. So I'm reading a book right now on the history of art, and it talks a lot about the aesthetics and how it really just is. There's a primitive drive running through all of it, even deep within our genes. So this has that kind of feeling to it. And but the main thing I wanted to express was just that the room, like it just, bravo. That's all.
Yeah, and just, thank you. For me, it's interesting because I always, I can't seem to stay away from making something out of something. It's a curse. And this one defies it. It absolutely, totally defies taking this abstract and making it into something else. It is what it is. It's patterned, and I love the textural quality, the pattern of it. I like just the hint of pink that is running throughout it, and the fact that that's dead center doesn't hurt. Yeah, exactly.
You know, what I find really interesting is that your work both has this strong materiality, and it totally transcends and dissolves into no material, no thing. So yeah, there's this, like, I agree with that ancient feeling. It always feels like it's drawing from somewhere else, or from the depth all the way down to the core of, like, the molten core of the, you know, the world.
Alchemy, it's like alchemy.
Yeah, it's absolutely alchemy. It's right in that state of, again, I mean, it relates to yours above, that state of something being and nothing, everything, that stew, swamp, but it's so light, and
Right.
yeah.
There's antiquity in it.
Yeah, there's history in it.
Do you start with a feeling?
I start with nothing.
Really? How do you do that? No, I'm being serious.
It's, well, training. It takes a lot of focus and many years of meditation and just being still, and I simply create stillness within me, and then these paintings happen, and I don't know, like when they're done, I don't know who painted them. Right? It's like, okay, so where did this come from? And the moment I start to think like, ooh, there should be some turquoise in here. The moment my thoughts start I put down my brushes and I walk away.
Yeah.
So these are coming from an area of non-thinking
Unconscious.
and unconscious, basically. Yeah, I'm unconscious when I'm painting. Yeah, that works.
I think you're not afraid to be subtle. I mean, there's like, you're not afraid to just let thing that looks like, just the fact that it's so light and it's so subtle, it makes me keep looking for more things and discovering more things and looking more at the pattern. And you're not, as an artist myself, I would think, oh, it's not enough. I need to do more here. And you just, yeah, and you just trust yourself. There's something very, very spiritual in this painting and in the whole room. It's really is amazing. And also, it looks like you just threw things, but actually, there's a real design element that take us in a circle and then take us somewhere. And this kind of looks like either water or sky. So it's a lot more. It looks like you just happen to be, but it's actually a lot more sophisticated, a lot more planned, more than what it seems like. And,
I had nothing to do with it.
Oh, but it's who you are. It
Right.
took you there
Right,
because
right.
because you know what you're doing, and I love the color combination. I mean, you do have your warm and cold, but it's just in a very subtle way, just enough, not a tad more than you need to have. So it really is.
Well, the
takes
one
a lot.
painter we all know who could do non-representational work and get away with it was Jackson Pollock with the drip
Yeah,
paintings.
that's
And this, I defy someone to find something in this, and that's incredibly hard to
That's
do.
really cool.
It's very hard to do.
That's true.
Yet there is something emerging, really. I mean, when you look at the color and the texture, this is where if we just talk about the elements of design and you think about what do you have like shape, texture, color, and though we don't have specific shapes, there's something starting to materialize in that, which is what is so mysterious and retains our interest. And
I think of like the word emergence. It's emerging. Something's emerging. There's complexity, complexity theory even in it, without going into the science, which
I'm
I
just
could.
a viewer. They are moving in. You have a whole section here that is kind of moving in. This group here. It could be anything. It could be spiritual. It could be anything. But it is moving into the painting, which is really a fascinating thing to see, because it's something you'd see more over time.
But it's also
really-
feeling that atmospheric space, those
Yeah.
physical layers and the fibers and the depths. And 1 minute we're above looking down, and another time we're at the floor looking at some sort of erosion or the humidity is getting into it. And then something's falling on us and we're looking up again. And that's, I think, what's so amazing is it allowed us to linger in that, and maybe it is that unconscious state you were in that allowed for that, but it is such a curious dynamic. And then it's very seductive, but it's gentle. It's not arresting. Like, look at me, I'm shiny, I'm textural. There's so much space for us, and that's very attractive.
Well, it's supremely very gutsy, because honest to God, I couldn't leave it alone. I would be in there, with, just one more little thing here.
Very true. It's just a very light touch, but it's just perfect.
Yeah, there's a fine line between texture and a painting, and I think
Right.
that
Yeah.
that it's like really thin, like a razor's edge.
It's
Cool.
it's like the alchemy that happens when you're doing raku.
Right, yes.
It's unplanned, it's fire, it's air,
Love it.
it's earth, and you have no control over what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm Ryan Wurmser, and I'm very lucky to know these 4 amazing women who've taken me in and said, well, you representational painter, we relate. So anyways, I'm going to let them do their thing. I'll rip.
I'll start. God, this painting is like Genesis, like something being created from the depth of earth, and this, light being directed in some parts of this darkness. And there's so much power in this painting, it's almost jumping off the wall to me. It's like I see swans, and then the swans disappear, and then there's blood, and there's darkness, and then there's all this light shining in through it. It's a very, very strong and dramatic painting. It should be in an opera, really. It's just it truly moves me.
I could go next and say that, yeah, I relate to like this formlessness moving into form, like that moment, that idea of Genesis, of something coming into being. And there's a lot that can be read into it, and yet because it's mainly in one value range, with the exception of maybe just this small dancing light through it, it remains very mysterious and moody, and also like imperfect. So it's like got this grace and mystery, but it's not resolved, and it never will be, and that's part of the beauty.
On a psychological level, one of the things that I find fascinating about this is that youth and things that are to be always are on the left-hand side, and death and dying is always on the right-hand side. And so this painting is perfectly set up for that kind of thing of, yeah, there is hope, but then because we read left to right, and all of a sudden we're like, no, there's no hope. No. Forget it.
Oh, and that would be actually really precise.
Would it?
Just ask my mom.
It is a very grand painting. I would suggest maybe, I don't know about this piece or future pieces, I would love to see it on a grander scale. I think if it was a big, it would we would not be able to tear ourselves away from it. It's a very strong painting. Formally, what fascinates me is, usually they say you don't put focal point in the center, but this works so well, and I don't know how you did it, because you're obviously a very skilled artist, and just placing those focal point, I don't know, if I try to block it, it doesn't feel the same. And same with this red part here that is so dramatic, and so it's a very emotional piece, and beautiful piece, yeah.
Anyone else feel it could be a Turner?
Yes, it could be a Turner, that's right, yeah, it could have, it is kind of like a stormy.
That's interesting.
It's
very stormy, very moody.
So.
All right.
So I don't have to talk about why it's moody, do I?
No.
I'll let you guys fill the blanks in on the moody part. Right? Yeah, you know what? That's what I get. You know what? Actually, a couple of things always changes it.
All right.
That's one of the only things
let's
that changes
hope
it.
Proof